Alright guys, today's video what we're going to do is I want to go over my do's and don'ts for using shock collars and e-collars. I have two different ones here. I got, a two dog setup. I got a single dog setup, which could also be a two dog setup. Now with these, I run these on my dogs throughout the day. I run, typically they'll have them on them all day, some days they don't. Just depends on whether they're going to get put on the leash outside, the lead outside, or get the free run in the yard. Now with that being said, this is kind of just another step forward off the last video I did about the Dogtra. Now with that being said, I made the video about Dogtra like 2 days ago. Kentucky Cooner made the video announcing the Pathfinder 2. Now the Pathfinder 2, coincidentally, has every feature that I said I wish that this Dogtra had. So that's good news. You know, that's going forward. We're going to be able to get everything you want out of any device. So I'll be on the lookout for that. I would check Dogtra today. It hasn't dropped yet on their website. But anyway, back to the shock collars. Now see, these can be your best friend, and these can also be a nightmare for your dog. When I say that, you can cause a dog so much psychological damage when you misuse these. People do not understand that. I have seen dogs that we have gotten on a trade or something like this in the coon hunting world, a dog that if its feet touched anything but grass, it was frozen solid, shimmering, because somebody had shocked it so bad off the road or out of the road or out of somewhere that wasn't a grassy area, whether that be a dirt road, whether that be a pavement road. Typically pavement road, people will shock their dogs for getting in the road. Going forward, and with that being said, shock collars can be your best friend, and it can be your dog's best friend as well. Now, as I was saying, my dogs hear that beep when I turn on this collar. They love it. They run, jump for joy, jump all over. They want their collars on because they know they get to go outside and run free. They don't have to be leashed up. They don't have to be, stuck outside in one area. They get to run around and play and do whatever they want to do outside. And for the most part, I keep those on them. And as I said, my dogs are vibration broke. So as I just turn this on, this specific one, this is just a pet trainer one. It's not very long range, just enough to keep them in the yard and stuff like that. This has a tone and a stimulation. So it has the tone, which if I switch over on the mode, that's what they hear. So this shock collar, when I do that, that's all it's doing. It's just making that beep noise. And tone broke, when people talk about tone broke, that's what they're talking about. People hit that button and their dog knows to do what it's told, or you're going to work up the rung. And some people like to tone break their dogs incorrectly, I would say, and they would just beep it and then automatically shock it at full power. Now that's very incorrect way to do that. Introducing the shock collar to a dog, any dog, is something that you want to do incrementally. It's something that you want to build up to. Now see on these, see if we can get you to see the screen here. We'll go. See, this is on the light mode. Switch this over. See if you get through the light. That's vibration mode. And I can click up and down what kind of level that I want. Now there's the shock, and this goes all the way. Like right now, it's at 56. I generally keep mine set at 50, just to be on the safe side. Now, that is what I would call the working distracted level that you have to use on your dog. Now, every dog is different. Every dog has a different level that they perceive. Every dog has a different level that is going to get their attention. So typically what I do is I put the collar on and I'll set this down at a 1, and I'll watch my dog and I'll buzz it. You know, hit the button at a 1. The dog doesn't feel it, doesn't notice it, nothing. Click it up a number, hit it again. Watching it. This is just normal. This is without distraction. This is finding your dog's baseline for just being normal in the house or normal in the yard with no distractions, no chasing, no running, you know, no playing, any distractions, because the bigger the distraction, the higher that number is going to get, and each dog has a level that when they're distracted, they're going to have to be shocked at that level. So definitely, inside the house, my dogs usually run around a 5, something like that, maybe a 10, just depending on the dog. I have 3 different dogs, but they have their baseline level that I run them at when there's nothing going on, and then I have the level that I have to go to get their attention when they're distracted. Um, and that's what I want to talk about. You have to find that baseline level, right? You hit the button, turn it up, hit the button, turn it up, hit the button until you see something in your dog. My dog might twitch its head, it might scratch its ear, it might, you know, scratch the collar, give you, you know, just do something, and then you're aware, okay, this is the level that this dog feels this. Okay? And that's the level that you want to start introducing your dog at. And from that level, you want to grab your leash, you want to grab a collar, you know, if you have a chain outside, whatever, maybe not a chain, maybe a tie out, anything like that. Go put your dog on it. You get in the yard, let the dog go out, hit it with your baseline level. Obviously, the dog knows something's going on. You call your dog. If the dog doesn't return, hit the dog again with the shocker, and you just repeat this process until the dog understands that when I come, I don't get shocked at this baseline level, which the baseline level is absolutely as soon as you can even feel it. So it's not really anything at all. As I said, the higher the distraction, the more adrenaline you got pumping through the dog, the more that you have to raise that level. Like I said, when I let my dogs outside, I keep this at a 50, just in case. As I said, my dogs are tone broke and vibration broke, so I can hit the tone or the vibration, and they will come back or do whatever command that I've given them. But there's a way to build into that. And that's what I was talking about. You want to obviously start with the baseline shock level, getting your dog to understand that when I feel that, I need to listen. And some dogs, you might have to turn it up and hit them before they will listen to you and what you have to say. And other dogs get it right off the bat. Now, the way that I do it is when I'm introducing the shock collar to a dog for the first time, that's what I do. Find the base level, get them to understand command, and if they don't listen to the command, then they get the repercussion of this. Now, then you would go into something to say you want your dog to return, you want your dog to be tone broke, you want your dog to be vibration broke. You would issue a command and immediately beep. So, I would have this in beeper mode, which I have in beeper mode, and come, come, come. Give it a little bit of time, see how the dog's reacting. If the dog's not reacting to that, then you would bump this up. You would go from the beep to the vibrate, which you hear it vibrate, just like your cell phone vibrating. It vibrates on their neck. Come, come. And if the dog does not come at that point, and you've gave the dog plenty of time to heed your call and submit to your call and return to you, and the dog still does not, then you would go over to the stimulate button, where you've had your preset baseline shock level, and it would become shock, come, shock, come, shock, which wouldn't be that fast necessarily. You give your dog time to listen and adjust. Don't immediately come here and shock your dog, because because you have to give the dog time to process the information that it's being gave before it can be disciplined for not engaging. So now that you're at the base level of your shocker, you've worked through the beep, you worked through the vibration, you worked through onto your baseline shock. If the dog is still not returning at this point, you up your level and you call your dog, shock the dog, and if the dog has not returned, you up the level and repeat, up the level and repeat, and you up the level and repeat, and you continue upping the level and repeating until the dog eventually returns. Some dogs won't get this at first. Some dogs, they will have to get shocked pretty good before they're not even going to listen to you. They're just going to return to you because they know that they're feeling something that they shouldn't be feeling on their neck. And then that is when you reinforce. Good dog, good dog. For returning, let them out, repeat the process, start at the beep. If they don't listen to the beep, go to the vibrate. If they don't listen to the vibrate, go to the shock. And each time you're going back down to your base level on your shock. Okay, now you're going to have this dog's a smart dog. Some dogs are just not smart or intelligent, and some trainers are just not intelligent either, so I'm not going to put it all bad on the dogs. But some dogs, 5 minutes, one round of going through that, and then they will eventually at least be vibration broke. Within the first couple days, they'll be vibration broke. And then you can start alternating and only doing one. But you want to work through each of the processes, give the dog plenty of time and plenty of chances before it does get a stimulation that it is going to feel a little bit of pain. So you do not want the dogs being shocked on 100 unless your dog needs that level. That's why they have such a big operating range on a shock collar. This particular collar, like I said, it's a 2-dog collar. I can switch back and forth. This is a shock collar setup that I run for my Bassets at the house. Now we have a lot of birds and a lot of cats and just a lot of small animals that come through our backyard, and every once in a while our dogs will go. They're running and they're trying to get whatever they're chasing. And that's why it's set at a 50, because I can hit them at the 50 and they will stop and they will return. Now, if you're shocking your dog and your dog is yelping, that shock level is too high. That is a too high of a shock level for your dog. Now, a good thing about the shock collar is if you do discipline your dogs, it is a very good way to get their attention. And getting a dog's attention is very hard, especially if it's chasing something, or if it's running off, or if it's running away from you, to do its own thing. So this is the process of tone breaking your dog, or vibration breaking your dog, is the process of completing these steps over and over and over repetitively until eventually you do not have to complete the full cycle of breaking the dogs. Now, I myself, I don't care for the beep. My dogs have a very long bark. I understand it's right here, but I do not put it totally on them to be able to hear over their own loud mouths to hear the tone. So the vibration works way better for me, and it's more of a, hey, you know, not a beep, 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 beep. Yeah, so with that being said, tone broke, vibration broke, whatever you want to call it. There's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. I have this shock collar set up on my little min pin. She's super easy, super easy. It took me 10 minutes with this. We didn't even want a shock collar for her, but we ended up in the instance where we had the dog that let it outside and it runs away. Some dogs are just like that. She was one of those, so we purchased the miniature, like for a small dog shock collar, and she definitely, the first 2-3 times out, I let her out over like a half an hour period, 2 or 3 times, and recalled her with this, going through the process. And now the beep, she's in the house. The vibrate, she's in the house. Don't have to shock that dog whatsoever at all. Our other dogs, the only time that they need a stimulation correction is if they're in chase. If they're giving chase to something, then they will need the stimulation to recall them. But as I said, each dog has a base level and a distraction level. And depending on the dog, your dog could be a 1 on a baseline and a 100 on distraction. So that's why there's adjustability there. And if you're going to purchase a shock collar, most important thing that I would tell you is you need to purchase one that does all three. If you're going to purchase one that has tone, vibrate, and shock, because you're going to need that versatility. And the more versatile that you have, the more you're going to get out of it. Um, as I said, my dogs absolutely love their shock collars because you've trained them on them correctly. They hear these beeps, they go nuts. They want them on so they can get outside and go hang out in the yard for as long as they want to, and and repeating the process. Eventually, your dog will go. If I don't listen to the first time to the beep, then I'm going to get a vibrate. If I don't listen to the vibrate, then I'm going to get a shock. And if I don't listen to the shock, I'm going to get a worse shock. And eventually the dog will not have to go all the way to the shock, and you can stop it at vibrate, you can stop it at beep, or you can just give a command at the point that your dog has been through the process and rinse and repeated consistently the same process. Your dog will not even need to be stimulated, beeped, or vibrated with the shock collar. They will listen and they will come to you when called, or they will, be quiet when called or told, or any command that they are given. They will listen, especially if you work this the correct way. Um, I've seen dogs absolutely terrified of these. They put it on a dog and they are just shaking in their boots. Now this is just, I've seen so many dogs because I've hunted dogs for so many years, and I have gotten dogs secondhand from people. I've gotten dogs on trade. I have found dogs. I have, went out and been to hunts. I've went out and I've been around so many dogs. I really have so many hunting dogs, and like 9 times out of 10, the hunting dogs have shock collar systems on them because they are so hard to recall off of giving chase to something. And a lot of people do not understand how to do this properly. And I think more people should. So I'm making this video. Because I did say that, shock collars aren't a bad thing. They can be your best friend, but they can also be a nightmare for your dog. Do not make your dog be in a nightmare, because you can absolutely, totally ruin a dog with a shock collar if you do not use it properly. Like I said, and you never know. You never know. You shock that dog on 100 for every little thing that it does, and you make it yelp its pants off every single time it does anything. That dog is going to be a mess. That dog is not going to know whether it should breathe without being shocked. It is the same difference. This is like the long arm of the law. And when I say that, this is like the long arm of the law, because you can put the hammer down on this thing, and you can put the hammer down on your dog with these collars, and be unfair and be unjust with these collars, and you, in return, you'll get what you put into it. You do it the right way and properly, and you respect your dog and you respect these collars. Your dog is going to be absolutely fine, and it's going to enjoy life, and it's going to be a completely different dog than what you would think. And I know a lot of people that absolutely hate shock collars. They will not put a shock collar on a dog. They hate anybody who has a shock collar, and that's understandable from the things that I've seen, and how people do misuse these. It's fully understandable, but from the perspective of you know you let dogs out in the yard and they run off and they're trying to go kill somebody's cat, or they're trying to go chase after somebody's kid, or they're trying to run out on the road and get hit by a car. There's all kinds of things dogs do, and you know what do you do? 9 times out of 10, the dog's 100 yards ahead of you. You can't even catch it. You can't prevent it. You can't stop it. That button, hit that button, and that dog is stopped. That dog is returning. That dog's back under control. And dogs that have to be leashed constantly, living in the city a lot, live around a lot of, pit bulls, a lot of Rottweilers, a lot of, bully breeds or aggressive dogs, and they live a life of prison basically because they're always on a leash. They're not allowed off leash. They are not allowed out of the yard. Half the time they're not allowed off the chain, and that's because once that dog is loosed off the chain, loosed out of the yard, loosed off your leash, loosed off the pin, whatever you say, that dog gets away from you 5 feet, it's out of control. And that's not saying that the dog, its behavior is out of control, but you're out of control of that dog. And God forbid that anybody have a dog out of control. I love pits, I love Rotts. I owned a Rott for 12 years, and fortunately enough, she grew up in the country for the most part of her life and had a yard to play in and nobody to bother her and things like that. So that was good for her, and really well mannered dog, really well minded dog, never gave anybody any problems. But you take that dog in public, that dog has to be under control, or you have to have control of your dog whether it needs controlled or not. And shock collar is an option, and in a lot of states they accept this as a leash. So if your dog is stuck on a leash everywhere you go, you should definitely research your laws, and maybe getting one of these can get your dog off the leash, because a lot of the laws state that as long as you have some form of control over that dog while it's in your presence, then that's all that's required. And this is considered a form of control over the dog. So for those people that feel bad for your dog, they gotta be on a leash, this is a good dog, nice dog, shock collar. Get your dog off that leash, get your dog out there a little bit farther than 6 feet, and you can still recall your dog, you can still have full control of your dog. There's millions of videos on YouTube about these, and you can find out any information that you need to find out, probably more in depth. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional, I'll just tell you that right now. I'm just a guy that has owned dogs and been around dogs and ran equipment like this for a long time, and I have results. A lot of people wouldn't dream of turning their hunting dogs out loose in the yard, because 99 out of 100 wouldn't be getting their dogs back that day. And even half more of that would have a shock collar and still wouldn't get their dogs back that day. So with these, definitely want to purchase the ones that have all three: the beep, the vibration, and the stimulation. You want to purchase the collars. This material of collar is very, very, very durable. These shock collars are almost 2 years old now, and they still held up. And these are just cheapos off of Amazon, and they work great. Same thing with this thing. This thing is almost a year old now, and it's ran phenomenally. As you can see, this one has the light, tells you that it's on. So does the other two. And if I wanted to go ahead, this one's really loud. And that's usually if we beep this one, all three of the dogs will come. We don't even have to beep any of the other two collars. If we give this one a beep, they all come in. So that's always good. But yeah, that's my video on the do's and don'ts of shock collars. Do not zap your dog at 100 for every little thing that it does. Please go through the proper steps. If you want a dog, a well-behaved dog that doesn't have to be shocked all the time, go through the tone, vibrate, shock that I went over. Call your dog, beep it, call your dog, beep it, call your dog, vibrate it, call your dog, vibrate it, call your dog, shock it, call your dog, shock it, raise the shock level, call your dog, shock it, call your dog, shock it, until your dog returns. Praise your dog, and then you can loose your dog back out and go through the process again. But don't jumble up a dog. And I'll say you can cause a dog to misbehave without knowing that it's misbehaving by throwing too many commands at it too abruptly, or repeating training processes stringently, nonstop, no breaks. Good 20, 30 minutes. And that's all it takes. If your dog has any type of intelligence, that's all that it takes. And if you do it like 1 30-minute session, we had a dog that you'd let it out here and it would run and run and run and run all through the neighborhood, never come back to you, could not call her back, could not get her back. She'd run through everybody's yards and just having a good old time playing. Could not get the dog back. 30 minutes on this, dog hasn't ran off since. And when you do that, you know where you want your dogs to be, where you don't. You just beep them when they get too far and they'll come back. You know, you don't have to only make this to where they come all the way back to you. You know, if they're getting off around the side of the house, and you know, if you have a house dog or any kind of dog that knows any commands or is, you know, adjusted to you, you get over here and hit the beep button and they'll come back. You know, you work your way up, but always repeat the process. Now, the big key to this working is starting on the leash, or starting on a long 10 or 15 foot training leash, letting your dog go out, doing that process, and if they still don't listen, you pull them in, pet them up, let them go out, get busy, and then repeat the process. And while you're controlling the control with control when you're doing that, because you're controlling the situation with this, you're controlling this situation that you created with the leash, and then you are in control of the leash and in control of this. So you're controlling control with control. And so definitely, if you have a tie out for your dog, or at least they put your dog on outside, put the dog on the tie out, let it go out, go through the process, and after a few times of that, if the dog's not returning by the time that you shock it, then you have to repeat the process. But 9 times out of 10, the first few times through, by the time you hit that shock button, your dog is returning. And then you're going to have the moment. You're going to have the moment where you found the baseline of your dog. Your dog's listening and minding with the baseline, but you're going to have the moment where the dog's distracted. Something catches its eye, it's off, or it's out ignoring you. Pups, a lot of time, the farther they're out, the more they think they don't have to listen. So, like, you get a pup that's farther out, or a dog that's farther out, they think they can't catch me, I don't have to mind them. That is going to be where you're going to increase your shock. But if they're giving chase to something, it is increase shock, increase shock, increase shock, increase shock, increase shock, until that dog gets it. Because the faster that you can stop that, the faster, you know, the situation's remedied. And a lot of these are short distance. And when I mean short distance, you know, they might be 100 yards, they might be 300 feet. Now, I believe this one is 300 yards, and this one is, I don't know, like 100 yards. So they're not very far. If you have a fast dog, is what I'm saying, is the dog can close 300 yards really, really fast, especially if it's on a dead run. So you want to get there quick. So if your dog is chasing something, or it is running off, and it's not returning, when you hit that shock button the first time, it's shock, increase, shock, increase, shock, increase, shock, increase, until it returns. And another thing too is, if you see your dog turn around and start heading back to you, quit shocking it, quit beeping it, quit vibrating it, because that's all that you want, is that dog to turn around and come this direction, and give your dog time to come this direction. If it turns around and comes back and starts lollygagging and sniffing something, or not, it's still, you know, ignoring you but kind of listening, then give it a vibrate or something, or a beep to hurry it up. And that's the one thing that people who train dogs good with these, they will say that this will take the hesitation out of your dog. Now, everybody knows you get out and you call for your dog, and they think they can stay out there for 4 or 5 minutes while you're trying to call them in. This call, they're there. That's what this is good for. Almost like you have them on a leash, and that's what I wanted to say. is you have them on a leash. Well, thanks for stopping by the video. This turned out to be a really long video, so hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope I did some good information for you guys on the do's and don'ts, and just going over how I do my shock collars and how I do my dogs. Um, Thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoy the dog trip video. I'm going to have maybe a coon hunting video tomorrow night. I don't know if I will be able to get any footage. I won't be able to take my lights or anything like that with me to get good footage. I don't like hunting with my lights on unless I have to. Um, then we will go Sunday to the training pen to get the dogs trained up. I know I rambled on for an extremely long amount of time about the shot collars, but if you're on the fence, here you go. If you need a little get started how to, here you go. Until next time.